Wow. Hey, much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys making the time to do that. You know, we're still recovering from the nerve pain and, the healing and the therapy and all that. So today we're just chilling back. We're going to go into the Kirkland files, and not only that, we're going into the CW files. Shout out to Kirkland and CW. Another person that's helping, just sharing sources that he finds with me on Patreon. So I said, hey, man, we're going to have to do the CW files too. So we got a special Kirkland and CW files, Black Europeans, swarty Europeans uncovered. They have whitewash history. I'm going to show you guys that. All right, so welcome. Hope you guys enjoy the video. We're doing this from my bed. I'm literally recording this on my bed. Screen sharing from my phone. And we're looking at right now is our Black Europeans History playlist. That's the name of my playlist. If you're new to this study, make sure you watch this playlist. Right? Try to watch it in order if you can and understand how many videos and how much research we've done on this. We got a lot. Got a whole bunch. All right. As you guys can see, a whole lot of research, real history using primary sources, historical records, military records, census, all kinds of things. Written accounts from people in those times, the description of these people and everything, who they are, where they came from, who they might be related to, right? I'm showing. We got a lot of videos in this playlist. This is one of them. As you see here, Black Swarty Europeans, Prince of Russia, and many more. Kirkland files. This is like one of the last ones I did with Kirkland files. And the image on this thumbnail, as you guys can see, that was the Prince of Russia. Literally. He got literally drawn like that, like a so-called black man, swarty man. And he's described with a dark complexion. That's what we're going to pick up today. We're going to go get a reference, another one of him and his dad. We're going to see that right now. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy the presentation today. Let's go right into it. All right, so we're in this book. It's called Memoirs of Peter Henry Bruce, Esquire, a military officer in the services of Prussia, Russia, and Great Britain, containing an account of his travels in Germany, Russia, Tartary, Turkey, and West Indies. All right. And so this is actually from 1782. 1782. So on page 6 of this book, it says here that Tsarowitz arrived in Moscow. They're talking about the Prince of Russia. This winter, where I saw him for the first time, he kept a mean Finlandish girl. Man, he had a mean Finlandish girl, man. You guys see how it's written there? He kept a mean Finlandish girl for his mistress. I went often with the general to wait on him, and he came frequently to the general's house, commonly attended by very mean and low persons. He was very slovenly in his dress. His person was tall, well made, of a brown complexion. You guys see that? Brown complexion. Black hair and eyes, of a stern countenance and strong voice. So this is literally matching what we learned on the last Kirkland files and matching the painting about him, all right? We're going to go to another source. So here we have another source. This one's in French, and it's called La Visite de Tsar Pierre le Grand, or the visit of the Grand Tsar Pierre le Grand, in 1717. Duprin dus. Well, this is the source, guys. You guys see? All right. It's an old source as well. And on page 6 of this book, middle paragraph says, Le Tsar es le plus grande telo. He's very tall. And it's going to say he has dark complexion. All right. Talking about Peter the Great here. All right. Let me just go ahead and translate this for you. So we're going to translate this right here. We're going to paste it right here. And we're going to get the translation. And it says, the Tsar is of the largest size, a little bent and his head tilted as usual. He is black and has something fierce in his countenance. So you guys know the word Noir in French is literally the word black. Okay, it's literally saying he's black, so-called black, right? Dark complexion. He appears to have a lively mind and easy conception, with a sort of grandeur in his manners, but not very sustained. He is melancholy and absent-minded, although accessible and often familiar. It is said that he is robust and capable of work of body and mind. All right, so-called black Peter the Great. This is who they're talking about in this book. Peter the Great, the dad of the Prince Alexander, right? Which we already got. It was also dark complexion, brown, swarty. We got the references already. All right, we're going to continue. So now we're at the CW files. All right, the first two were from Kirkland. We're going to be mixing them up between Kirkland and CW. So CW shared this source that says here from the Historical Manuscripts Commission, report of the manuscripts of His Grace the Duke of Portland, preserved at Welbeck Abbey, Volume 5. All right, many volumes of this, 1899. And we go to page 212 of this book. I'm going to show you a reference here of somebody. It says here, towards the middle, Sir Andrew Chadwick, Bart, about 25 years of age, middle size and slender, and a black complexion. I'm going to show you guys who that is, Sir Andrew Chadwick. All right. And just down here before we go, it says here the Monsieur Roselio merchant lives generally at the Hague, about 65 years old, of a middle stature, black complexion, with one Swiss servant. So these are Europeans. This is in Europe, guys. So Sir Andrew Chadwick, right? Remember, he is so-called black complexion, as you see here. Black complexion. So Sir Andrew Chadwick, according to ChatGPT, who lived in the 18th century, roughly 1684 to 1768, and who appears in genealogical and estate records, these sources describe him as a figure of enough social standing that his estate and family history were recorded and discussed in publications in the 19th century. These references come from family history compilations and estate reports rather than the mainstream encyclopedias, suggesting he was not widely influential public figure like national political leaders or major historical reformers. So basically, the Chadwick Foundation and them, they traced them back to him. He was very rich. He had a big estate. That's who Sir Andrew Chadwick. He wasn't just anybody. He was a very wealthy, black European in those times, okay? Sir Andrew Chadwick. All right, continuing the CW files. Next, we're going to be talking about Griffin Markham, or Sir Griffin Markham, who died after 1644. He was an English soldier, says here, the son of Thomas Markham and Mary Griffin from Nottinghamshire. Okay, it says on May 1592, he married Anne Roots. During the 9 Years' War in Ireland, 1594-1603, he commanded the cavalry under Sir Conyers Clifford, and his opportune arrival and countercharge after the defeat of the infantry at the Battle of Curlew Pass, 1599, saved the army from complete disaster. His right arm was broken during the affray. All right. So look, Markham was banished from court for unknown reasons around 1593, although he had anticipated the ascension of King James I with a degree of hope. After it occurred in March 1603, he experienced disappointment with the new monarch's lack of favor and took part in the by-plot in June 1603 and subsequently the main plot, for which he was convicted and sentenced to death. All right. However, he was reprieved from execution and exile. All right, so that's a little bit about him. That's what we're going to talk about right now. So it says here in this book, it says historical manuscripts, commission calendar of the manuscripts of the most honorable, the Marquis of Salisbury, preserved at the Hatfield House, Hertfordshire. This is part 15 of this book, of these collections from 1930. So on page 193 of this book, we got a description of Sir Griffin Markham, as it says here. Description of Sir Griffin Markham and his brothers. Sir Griffin Markham has a large, broad face, okay, of a black complexion. Has a big nose, okay? Big nose, broad face, black complexion, and one of his hands was maimed by a hurt in his arm, received by shot of a bullet. He has a thin little hair of his beard. All his brothers are tall of stature and without any hair on his face, of exceeding swarty. All right, exceeding swarty, all his brothers. So not only him, but all his brothers, exceedingly swarty, very exceedingly black or dark complexion. You guys see that? And bad complexions, and have all very great noses. They got big wide noses, right? Big wide nose like the Olmec. Sir Griffin Markham and all his brothers. You guys see that? And who he was in history? All right. One more reference in this book, real quick. I thought it was interesting. It says here on page 25, Dr. Richard Bancroft, Bishop of London, to Sir Robert Cecil. He's talking about a guy here, Mr. Gerard, who is, I guess, with some Jesuits. It says here, 1603, April 1st. I cannot learn either the names or the descriptions of the two Jesuits which accompany Mr. Gerard. For Mr. Gerard, he is a tall black man, very gallant in apparel, and being attended with two men and a footboy, is exceedingly well horsed. Their chief repair will be to Sir James Lindsay and Mr. and Dr. Drummond, who pretended themselves the last years to be agents for His Majesty in Rome. All right. So whoever this Mr. Gerard is, again, these are all in Europe. These are black Europeans. You see how they're chilling with Jesuits. He's being described as a tall black man. Many people of color, many Negroid people, many so-called black Europeans. All right. In the 1600s, 1700s, it wasn't just minority. Okay. Let's move on. All right. We're in the book Peter the Great by Oscar Browning. This is from 1898. We're in page 311. And here we are talking about, again, Peter the Great. Shout out to Kirkland. All right. Peter the Great. Peter the Great. Down towards the bottom, he has a description here. And it says here, he also describes him thus: he is a very tall man, well made, not too stout, with a roundish face, a high forehead, and fine eyebrows, a short nose, but not too short, large at the end. All right, large at the end, wide nostrils, meaning, right? His lips are rather thick, thick lips with wide nostrils. Listen, thick lips, wide nostrils. His complexion, ruddy brown, all right? Ruddy brown, copper color, just like how they drew his son in that portrait I showed you in the beginning of the video, right? From that video last time we did. Fine black eyes, large, lively, piercing, and well apart, a majestic and gracious look when he wished, otherwise severe and stern, with a twitching which did not often return, but which disturbed his look and his whole expression, and inspired fear. Okay, so that's how they're describing Peter the Great. Wide nostrils, thick lips, and a ruddy brown complexion. And we already got brown complexion, and his son being black, swarty. All right. So you guys already see. Let's move on. All right. Now we're gonna get a description of this historical person. It's Frederick V of the Palatinate. Frederick V was an elector palatine of the Rhine in the Holy Roman Empire from 1610 to 1623, and reigned as King of Bohemia from 1619 to 1620. He was forced to abdicate both roles, and the brevity of his reign in Bohemia earned him the derisive sobriquet, the Winter King. So, something about him, Dutch the hijack with the whitewashed image, you're going to see why I'm saying him and his wife and his kids, right? It says, He was the son of Frederick IV and Louis Julia of Orange-Nassau, the daughter of William the Silent. Okay, so an intellect, a mystic, and a Calvinist, he succeeded his father as Prince Elector of the Rhenish Palatine in 1610, and at the age of 17 was married to the Protestant Princess Elizabeth Stuart, the daughter of James I believe. So one of the king of James, right? So he got it with that family. We're gonna see what he's described, what it says about her and their kids. Okay, that's what we're gonna talk about right now. Shout out to Kirkland again. So it says here in the book, Memorials of Affairs of State in the reigns of Elizabeth and King James I. All right, collected chiefly from the original papers of the Right Honorable Sir Ralph Winwood. Okay, and so on and so on. This is volume 3 of many volumes, and this is from 1725, as you guys can see. 1725. Let's see what it's saying. All right, so we go to page 404 of this book, and it's again in regard to Frederick V, Elector Palatine. It says, he is straight and well shaped for his growing years. His complexion is brown. His complexion is brown, with a countenance pleasing and promising both wit, courage, and judgment. He became himself well and is very well liked of all, unless of those that are now sorry they did so honor him as to discommand him. All right. We're just talking about a swarty man, brown complexion, right? Brown complexion. He married that other lady, right? Elizabeth Stuart, daughter of James I. You see how she and her kids are described like, let me show you. All right. So in the book, Lives of the Princesses of England from the Norman Conquest by Mary Ann Everett Green. This is from 1849, right? I just want to show you guys this. Now on page 278, this is in regards to Elizabeth Stuart, which is his wife, right? Frederick V's wife, and their baby. What is she saying about her own baby? Listen to what she's about to say about her own baby. And this is, again, she communicated the intelligence to her father in the following letter. This is from her to her father, James I. And she starts with, I have not written to your majesty for a long time for one of a subject. Now I have to tell you with much regret of the loss of any lady of honor, Dudley, for she died of high fever in the confinement, all right, so on and so on. Now I want to show you what she says here. It says, the elector and my little black boy, all right, let me zoom in. So she's talking about her husband and her child, right, to her dad. It says, the elector and my little black boy are very well, thank God, to whom I heartily commend you. I ever remain, sire, your most humble and obedient daughter and servant, Elizabeth. Okay, she's saying the elector, again, Frederick V, her and his kid is called the black baby. She's literally calling him the black baby. I'm going to show you there's more than one source and that they are talking about complexion. Okay, being dark skinned. Why would they have a black baby if they ain't so called black too? We already know his dad is brown complexion, right? We just read that. All right, now let's go to the next source. This is from the original. I'm gonna show you guys an original letter that she literally hand wrote. This is letters to King James VI from the Queen, Prince Henry, Prince Charles, the Princess Elizabeth, and her husband Frederick, King of Bohemia. Okay, Frederick V, right? And from their son Prince Frederick Henry. Watch how he's described from the originals in the library of the Faculty of Advocates. Right, this is from the actual original. Right, so I'm gonna show you. Look, check this out. So this is the actual letter. Let me just show you where it says it. I'm gonna go down here. Now it says here, we see where it says black babies. It says, I will include, no, I would unclear unsure your MF, the prince's health, and of the little black babies. The little black babies, plural, black babies who grow very well. And I beseech God that I may ever hear the happy news of your health, and which I pray that it may continue and that it may ever be worthy of the title of Sir, your will, and most humble servant, Elizabeth. All right, so look, black babies. You guys see it right here? Let me zoom into it. Look, black babies. You see that? Little black babies. She's talking about her kids. Little black babies. All right, let's continue. Here's just a quick reference. Another one. This is would be in a French, but this is from the Fortescue Papers, consisting chiefly of the letters relating to the state affairs collected by John Packer, secretary to George Villiers, Duke of Buckingham, are edited by Samuel Rawson Gardiner from the Camden Society Collections, Volume 21, I believe this. We go to page 37 of this book, and I just want to show you that on line 3 right here, it says, un bastante le petit black baby. You see that? Petite black baby in the third sentence. Right there, right at the end, black baby. It says here, her second child, Charles Louis, who succeeded his father in electorate, the term black baby, black doll, was applied by Elizabeth also to her eldest child. Okay? Remember, she said black babies. All bunch of them, black babies, right? Now let's go to one of these babies. It says here in the collected papers, historical, literary, travel, and miscellaneous by Adolphus William Ward from 1921. We go to page 103, and this is actually in regards to the wife. So it says Elizabeth Charlotte adds that there was a great likeness between the queen and her eldest son, of whom his early days she is found speaking to her father, King James, as her petite black baby, her little black baby, okay? Altogether, there can be no doubt that she was one of the dark ladies. Listen, she was one what? Of the dark ladies to whom Shakespeare has attributed so peculiar a fascination, and by whom Goethe was so easily subdued. The other feature noticed by Elizabeth Charlotte, that feature in which physiognomists consider so much a character to be read, was inherited by all those of her numerous children, with whose portraits I am acquainted, notably by Prince Rupert and by the Electress Sophia, the progenitress of our Hanoverian sovereigns. If you don't understand what that's saying, it's saying all her kids are dark complexion, including her dark ladies. She was one of them. It was by her marriage in February 1630 to the Elector Palatine Frederick V that Elizabeth, then the only surviving daughter, and besides her brother Charles, the only surviving child of King James I, became a personage of high political importance in Europe. So we got a reference of her husband Frederick V being brown complexion, their babies being called black, right? Black babies. A lot of people saying they are, those features were, noted in their kids. And her, right? A dark lady, as I said here, dark lady. She was one of the dark ladies to whom Shakespeare has attributed peculiar fascination. That's her. Now let's get it. Another one about her son. It says here, Writing Women in Jacobean England by Barbara Kiefer Lewalski from 1993. And of course, they're going to quote from the historical books. I just want to show you guys here. She explained this behavior later as stemming from uncertainty and inexperience, but it suggests real ambivalence about giving over the role of romance princess for that of mother, as was expected of her. The birth of the swarty Frederick Henry. Look, this is Frederick's son. This is one of their black babies. Look, they even confirming that he's swarty, so-called black. Look, the birth of the swarty Frederick Henry on January 2nd, 1614. It says here, Mon Petit Black Baby. All right. That's one of the black petite babies. You see it touched off joyful celebrations and tributes in both the Palatinate and England, okay? The whole family is so-called black. I hope you guys see that now. The whole family is being called so-called black. All right, we continue with the CW files. Shout out to CW. It says here, Thomas Butler, the 10th Earl of Ormond. Who is this guy? Thomas Butler, the 10th Earl of Ormond and 3rd Earl of Ossory. All right, he was Irish. He was born 1531, passed away 1614, was an influential courtier in London at the court of Elizabeth I. He was Lord Treasurer of Ireland. From 1559 to his death, he fought for the crown in the Rough Wooing, the Desmond Rebellions, and Tyrone's Rebellion. He fought his rival Gerald Fitzgerald, 14th Earl of Desmond, in the Battle of Offaine in 1565. He was born in February 1531, Southern Ireland. He was the eldest son of James Butler and his wife Joan Fitzgerald. All right, dodge the hijack with the whitewash image right there. I'm going to show you why. At the time of his birth, his father was still his apparent, the heir apparent, sorry, but would succeed as ninth Earl of Ormond. All right, so they were of Anglo-Norman origin, the family descended from Theobald Walter. Okay, so that's a little bit of him. You know, very famous here, historical Irish person. And we go into the book and history of the life of James, Duke of Ormonde, from his birth in 1610 to his death in 1688, where is contained an account of the most remarkable affairs of his time, particularly of Ireland, under his government in 2 volumes. Okay, this was volume 1, and I believe 1700s, I believe it's from, or early 1800s. Okay, well, that's the Roman numeral right there. You guys can do the math. Go ahead and check it out. All right, that's the book we're going to get his description from, Thomas of Ormonde. Okay, so here I am in the introduction of the book. All right, as you guys can see here, Thomas Earl of Ormonde was a very averse to this marriage, but there was no opposing the king's pleasure. All right, so we're just going to get to the part we came for, where he is described. It says, he was a very comely and graceful man, and of a black complexion, which gained him among the Irish the surname of Duff. All right, so they are talking about a Negro man. Duff literally means black, guys. If you guys didn't know, Duff and Dun is brown, Duff is black, right, dog? All this, he was very comely and a black complexion, which gained him among the Irish the surname Duff, and gave occasion to the queen, in her way of expressing kindness to such as the favor, to call him her black husband. And no arts of the Earl Leicester and his other enemies could ever put him out of her good graces. All right, they're talking about Queen Elizabeth, the famous one. She called him her black husband. Yes, this Thomas, right, this Irish guy, black complexion. They call him Duff because he's black, and Queen Elizabeth calls him her black husband. Okay, her black husband, Thomas of Ormonde. Thomas of Ormonde. Any questions? And this is the book calendar of the state papers related or relating to Ireland of the reign of James I, 1615 to 1625, preserved by the Her Majesty's Public Record Office and elsewhere, edited by the Reverend Charles W. Russell and John P. Pendergast. All right, and this is from 1880. And we go to page 496 of this book. And we're going to talk about a Eneas Callalan. It says, then told him that he happened upon a fit instrument for such a discovery, who is now with the friar himself. He is not of the old Maddens, as he Falkland writes, but his father has lands very near the old Maddens county, or country, and his name is Eneas Callalan. And he himself is the man that he was informed came out of Spain with the friar, for he is the tall black man. He, Falkland described, that brought money with him, which he received as viaticum, right? He is what? A tall black man. You see that, guys? Let me zoom in. Now you can see it, right? That brought money with him, which he received as viaticum, as he terms it, from King of Spain to defray his journey. Letters he may have, but he has not shown them yet. After he had visited his father and some friends, he made his present repair to Galway to meet with the chief father of that order that came over in company with him, one Dr. Lynch, a very learned man and of great estimation with them. He is brother to Sir Harry Lynch, of whom, if he thinks fit, it were not amiss he Falkland required some accounts of him. All right, so this Eneas Callalan, a black man, tall black man, importing these important people. These are all black Europeans, no matter if they're not royal, right? We're just showing you they're all over the place. It says Aeneas Callalan says that in Spain it is certainly reported that the Irish regiment in the Low Countries, to the number of 2,000 men, shall be sent for Ireland, with spare arms to arm others that will adhere to them. But they heard the narrow seas were strictly kept, but it is possible they may pass the are appointed to land in Connaught near Galway. This much came from his own mouth, as the man he code and trusts him sends him word. Okay, and that's from him. All right, primary source, the tall black man, Mr. Eneas Callalan, important guy here. All right, CW files real quick. We go into the Pennsylvania Gazette. This is a screenshot of the Pennsylvania Gazette from 1764, July 19th, page 3. All right, page 3. All right, and it says here, deserted from the Pennsylvania Regiment. So this is in the States. These are deserters. Listen. Once the 1st of July instant, the following soldier from Captain Keene's company, William McKee, an Irishman, 40 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches high, speaks good Dutch, has no beard. Then you got James Tomlinson, an Irishman, 5 feet 8 inches high, dark complexion, right? An Irishman with dark complexion, speaks Dutch, has black hair. Then you got Jacob Keynes, a German, 5 feet inches high, brown complexion. All right, a German with what? Brown complexion, just like Benjamin Franklin said, and described all these people, right? Look at this guy, speaks a little English. Then it says, from Captain John Webb's company, John Johnson, born in Maryland, 25 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches, brown complexion. Okay, these are all deserters, right? Of what? Revolutionary War or something? It says John Russell, born in New Jersey, 22 years of age, 5, 5, 5 feet 6 inches high, brown complexion, a copper. Then you got John Garrow, an Irishman, 26 years of age, 5 feet 7 inches high, black complexion. Do you see how he's all colored, folks, right? Black complexion, even the Europeans, the ones born here. A farmer, no slaves, right? He's a farmer, a black farmer, black complexion Irishman, right? Then you got John Ward, born in Pennsylvania, 23 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches high, brown complexion. Then you got Court Wainer, Jacob Lewis, born in Pennsylvania, 29 years of age, 5 feet 9 inches high, black complexion. A farmer. Huh. Thomas Bird, an Englishman, 22 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches, brown complexion. An Englishman who is brown complexion and he's a tanner. Listen, guys, you see? Robert Smith, an Irishman, 26 years of age, 5 feet 11 inches high, and he's black complexion. So called black. He's a farmer as well. All right, he probably has a plantation. Might be even called a slave owner if he has indentured servants, right? But he's a black man. It says Alexander McQuillan, an Irishman, 23 years of age, 5 feet 7 inches high, brown complexion. Okay, an Irishman, brown complexion. You guys see this? James Lindsay, an Irishman, 24 years of age, 5 feet 5 inches, and he's fair complexion. So you guys can see there's no if or and buts. They're literally talking about melanated people because they're literally letting you know this guy's fair complexion, meaning a little more lighter. He might still be what somebody might call a Negro, light skinned Negro. You don't know, but they're distinguishing. I want to show you that, right? From light skinned people to so called black, brown complexion, right? It says Reuben Halbert, born in York Government, 16 years of age. Wow, he's young. 5 feet 6 inches, brown complexion. And he's a farmer at 16. Wow, man, he's really doing it up. It says Daniel Davis, born in Pennsylvania, 22 years of age, 5 feet 1 inches high, black complexion. It says Daniel Cole, born in New Jersey, 20 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches, brown complexion. William White, an Irishman, 26 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches high. He's black complexion. They're darker than the ones over here, huh? From Captain Nicholas House-Regger's company, Joseph Singh, 28 years of age, 5 feet 5 inches high, brown complexion. A laborer, George Heim, 8 years of age, 6 feet inches high, brown complexion. A baker, John Nat Finder, 33 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches, black complexion, a laborer. And you got Martin Criddle, 30 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches, high brown complexion. A tailor, John Gable, 26 years of age, 5 feet 6 inches, brown complexion. These are all people of color, right? Look at this, man. Black, and it keeps going. And then right here it says, um, Andrew Pete, 30 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches high, black complexion, laborer. Adam Miller, 34 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches high, black complexion, a laborer. The above, listen, the above seven, all Germans. These are all Germans. All Germans. Browns and black. You see this, guys? All Germans. The last seven we just read out. All right? Wow. From Captain James Irvin's company, John Thompson, born in New England, 26 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches high, dark complexion, a carpenter. Thomas Galligan, born in Pennsylvania, 22 years of age, 5 feet 7 inches high, brown complexion, a farmer. Hugh Poe, born in Pennsylvania, 26 years of age, 5 feet 8 inches high, brown complexion, a tailor. Michael Pruh, born in Pennsylvania, 25 years of age, 5 feet inches high, light complexion. There you go. So you guys can see they're not being biased. All right. When they mean pale skin or light, they tell you fair or light. So black don't mean white here. Okay. Don't dash your own hijacks. It says from the new recruits, Daniel Sullivan, an Irishman, 25 years of age, 5 feet 9 inches, brown complexion, Irishman. Whoever takes up and secures the said deserters or either of them in any of the goals of their province or brings them to the regiment shall have £3 reward for each of them. Okay, paid by James Young, and that's it. I'm telling you. And look, there's more. What? Whereas a young man who called himself James Curry, about 5 feet 10 inches high, this visage, black complexion, wears his own black hair, about 22 years of age, with claret color coat. Wow, this is so much, guys. But you guys see, all right? Yeah, you see all these deserters, all these black Europeans, amongst other peoples that are dark complexion, possibly people mixed with Indian, Americans, Continuing the CW files, we get here at the calendar of letters, dispatches, and state papers relating to the negotiations between England and Spain preserved in the archives at Simancas and elsewhere. Volume 3, Part 2, Henry VIII, 1527, 1529. All right. This is from 1877. We're on page 342 of this book. It says Spanish State Papers here. We're going to go to a part where we are coming to. It says here, the Bishop of Trent writes in date of the 15th installment that the Paleologue, or black man, or black man as he is called in the country, was slain in battle by a cannon shot. His head has been cut off and taken in triumph to the Voivode Sapolsky at Buda, who had in his army 2 Sangyaks and 50,000 Turks. Stated in one of his former dispatches that the seniority had laid a tax of 100,000 ducats on the clergy. Okay, so who are they talking about? The Bishop of Trent. So I just want to read to you what CW says about this person. It says this excerpt from 1527 comes from the Spanish State Papers preserved by the authority of the British Treasury's Archival Commission, a collection of diplomatic military dispatches. All right, it says the Bishop of Trent reports the battlefield death of a nobleman from the Paleologue or Paleologos dynasty. That's what that means. So the guy they're saying is tall, dark complexion. That's who they're talking about. The last imperial house of Byzantium, whose members continued to serve as European nobles, diplomats, and military commanders after the fall of Constantinople, 1453. The bishop notes his dark complexion, explicitly stating he was locally called the Black Man. Okay, that's in the footnote that we didn't read, but that's what CW is letting us know, all right? Calendar of the State Papers relating to Ireland of the reign of James I, preserved in Her Majesty's Public Record Office and elsewhere. This is volume 1. Says here on page 653. He told him that there had been a general collection lately made among the captains and soldiers of the said regiment for the charge of one Thomas McCrofte. So this Thomas McCrofte is who they talking about, a friar, was appointed to go into Ireland to the White Knight and some others to invite them to take arms against his majesty and to be in readiness to assist the Earl of Tyrone when he shall come thither with his forces, which he intends to raise this summer by the help of the Pope and the King of Spain. They are destined, as he says, it is commonly spoken among the Irish, to land both in Fay, MacHugh's, and McGuinness countries. He said, moreover, that this friar was to take shipping either to Ostend or Calais, to pass through England and to land at Cork or some other port of Munster, and so to go to the Abbey of Kilcreech, about which place he was born. He described the friar to be a tall, handsome man of a black complexion, all right? Black complexion, and black hair somewhat long, and to be of the age of 30 years or thereabouts, okay? You see? All these black Europeans doing important things, and this is a friar, and this came. And see how they're dealing with Spain a lot, the Irish? You see kind of the same theme today going on, right? They're sending regiments over there and they're representing themselves, each other with them, all that. But you see, swarty people, black Europeans. Now you know the friar Thomas McCrofte. And CW adds, describing him as a black complexion. It says the passage infers that this black man was trusted to recruit soldiers, carry messages for exiled Irish earls, and operate inside papal Spanish military strategy, moving between kingdoms in high stakes political intrigue across Europe over a decade before the infamous 1619 date, and once again showing that black complexioned men were not absent from early modern Europe's power struggles, but recorded plainly as actors inside the contest of empires, diplomacy, and war, further dismantling the assumption that black history in the West begins only in bondage and revealing instead a man operating at the fault lines of kingdoms, themselves documented in real time by the state because his role was consequential, all right? It's not just anybody, these important people, and shout out to CW for such a great explanation, man. Shout out, man. All right, let's continue. All right, so we continue in the Kirkland files. We're in BBC News .com. It says here, X-ray reveals hidden Goya painting. What are they talking about? Well, they're talking about this, guys. Take a look. So, to the left is the modern painting, which they X-rayed. And what they found is there was a different painting in person underneath the modern one, which is the one on the right, as you guys can see, dressed as a French, commander or something like that. French, What I want you to notice first is his features. He does have thick lips. His hair does look like it could be curly or woolly. He does have brown complexion hands. Look at his hands. I'm going to read the article, guys. But just check out the hands, right? And that's what his face was looking like. See the complexion of his hands? Look at that. I'm gonna zoom in. All right, brown, so-called black man right there. You see the thick lips, and the nose and everything, right? That's what they hide. That's what they hid with the one on the left. All right, so let's just real quick. It says a previously unknown painting by Francisco de Goya has been found hidden underneath one of his masterpieces. The Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam has announced, okay, they found it. The unfinished work was discovered underneath Goya's portrait of Don Ramon Satue using a new X-ray technique. It is thought to depict a French general, okay, and may even portray Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, Joseph. Man, we can't make this up, guys. I got a whole video on Napoleon and how he was described as a dark complexion person, many different sources, okay? There's even a drawing of him, where he looks like a so-called black man. I've shown that. Make sure to check out my video on Napoleon. But this would make this very true. That if that is Napoleon's brother Joseph, that he was a so-called black man too. And you guys can see his hands, Literally brown, right? That's what they're finding. They covered up the face. I'm going to show you that they purposely left the face alone, right? So that's his brother, most likely. It says the Rijksmuseum says that the Spanish master may have covered up the portrait for political reasons. Huh. Joseph Bonaparte was briefly king of Spain from 1808 to 1813, okay? When the Napoleonic army was driven out and Ferdinand the Seventh restored to the throne, Goya, who retained the painting, would have wanted to distance himself from the French regime. The artist had served the French king and feared reprisals, despite receiving an official pardon and being reinstated as first court painter. Eventually, unhappy and with Ferdinand VII's autocratic regime, he applied for permission to settle in France, where he lived until his death in 1828. So it says here the new painting was revealed using a technique developed by the University of Antwerp and the Delft, of technology. All right, they're saying the high resolution X-ray scan allows you to see intricate brushwork and detail. Bombarding a piece of art with powerful X-rays causes atoms in the picture's layers of paint to emit fluorescent X-rays of their own, which indicate the chemicals they originated from. That enables a color map of the hidden picture to be produced, okay? So when they're showing you those brown complexion hands, guys, that's what they painted. That's what his color was, okay? Since then, a mobile version of the X-ray scanner has been developed, allowing museums to examine paintings that are too delicate to be moved or touched. According to the Rijksmuseum, the Goya painting is a formal portrait of a man wearing uniform. The detail of his face was never completed. All right, look it. Why did they leave his face out? Look how they're snitching on themselves, guys. Once they saw the hands, they're like, oh, hell no. And we see thick lips too. We see what looks to be like woolly hair. Uh-oh, we cannot finish his face. They're literally telling you in this article from BBC.com, guys, that the detail on his face was never completed. They purposely left it out. But the decorations embellishing the uniform are those of the highest ranks of a chivalric, order instituted by Joseph Bonaparte. That's him, guys. When his brother, the Emperor Napoleon, created him king of Spain. Okay, only 15 generals plus Joseph were entitled to wear that uniform and medal. Although so far it has proved impossible to pin down exactly which of them is depicted. All right, listen, guys. I can't make this up. They're literally telling you this is Joseph Bonaparte. They're literally telling you, that somebody hit him, somebody erased him, and whitewashed somebody else, painted somebody else over him, and they purposely, as it says here, the details of his face were never completed, left the face alone, because they didn't want to show you that this was a black man. That's what it was going to show you, just like his hands, right? Just like his hands right here. They left the face out. You see that? All right? You see what they're doing? How they whitewash history, how they erase history? This is big right here. This should be big news. All right? They brushed it under the table, under the rug, sugarcoat it. Oh, yeah, hey, we don't know. It's literally a black man there. That's Napoleon's brother, Joseph, guys. All right? Just like Napoleon. We're going to read another article real quick. All right, guys, we're in the times.com now. And we have another article, as you guys can see. I just want to see. This one has a more clearer picture of his face. Oh, damn. You guys see that? Thick lips. You see the bottom lip? You see his nose? That's a black man. Look at his hair. Curly and woolly. They're not showing you. All right, they purposely left it out. Remember, it says the previously unknown painting was found beneath Goya's, a portrait by Don Ramo. X-ray reveals Goya's secret masterpiece. This is the picture Goya tried to hide. They try to hide it because it depicts a black man, a black Napoleon, a black Joseph Napoleon, okay? It was discovered on the portrait of Don Ramon Satue by Dutch researchers using X-rays. It could be of Joseph Napoleon, the King of Spain, and Goya may have painted over it after the French were driven from Spain in 1813. 10 years later, Ferdinand VII restored absolute rule to Spain, but Goya had been a supporter of an earlier liberal constitution. A portrait of Napoleonic general or even Napoleon would have proved compromising. The hidden portrait was discovered using an X-ray scanner, which meant researchers did not have to touch the painting. Okay, guys, listen. This is a big deal, right? This is a huge deal. I just wanted to show you guys. All right, what they're doing. Shout out to Kirkland for the drop. For sharing this. All right, this is literally Napoleon's brother Joseph. They hide in a black man. They painted over it. They try to whitewash history and erase what Joseph Bonaparte really looked like in historical paintings. All right, body bag. Shout out to Drop, man. Body bag for the illusion, man. Shout out to Drop, man. And we're not done. So just in case you don't think it's just conjecture, we're going to show a description of Joseph Bonaparte. In this book, Joseph Bonaparte and Amérique from 1815 to 1832 by Georges Burton from 1893. And it says here, bien proportionate, elle teint brun. Elle teint brun, his complexion is brun. Le teint brun. We're going to go ahead and translate this, okay? So we're going to translate this whole section right here. So it says here, he went down to Mr. Slaymaker's house, and soon after the latter's house was filled with a crowd of people who were driven by defiant or sympathetic curiosity to come and study him closely. Besides, they saw nothing more than a man. Joseph is about 5 feet 10 inches. He is a fairly thick, well-proportioned, has a brown complexion. Do you guys see that? Brown complexion. His physiognomy is neither pleasant nor ugly. In short, nothing remarkable, and strong features. Okay, brown complexion, matching the painting, his hands, right? A so-called black man, right? A melanated man, a black French, black European, black Bonaparte, Joseph. Okay, that's what it says. All right, so we continue in the CW files, and we're in the Polish manuscripts, or the secret history of the reign of John Sobieski. On page 43 of this book, in regards to a so-called Turkish king, right? It says here, or a person or a noble, it says, I shall only add to complete the visitor's character that he was a handsome man, though of a swarty black complexion. Swarty black complexion, all right? Like those of certain remote provinces in Asia, just like the people of Asia, right? As is signified by his name, Kara, all right? Which in the Turkish is as much as to say black, all right? Kara is the same as black. We've been trying to tell you that. Shout out to Drop 432, the Drop Radio. He's been showing us that on the Prester John series. All right, Kara means black in the Turkish language in ancient times, especially when you see that in ancient times, then you got to add black to it. So what are they telling you about this guy, right? He is very dark complexion. And again, his name is Kara, which in Turkish is much as to say black. There are diverse persons of this color at the sultans, all right? There's a lot of them. Sultan's court. Muhammad IV himself is so, okay? Muhammad IV. Listen, there's a lot of drop in this little book right here. We got to get back in. We got to read the whole book. Muhammad IV is also a swarty black complexion Negro man. Himself is so, as was the Kai Mokan, all right? Just like him too. And the vizier of Bardi. All of them. Of Buddha, sorry. And the visitors of Buddha? Hey, listen. Okay? The visitors of Buddha, man. They were also black. The visitor's intimate friend, who was preferred to that posed by his means instead of another, who was a man of sense, and dissuaded the Porte from undertaking the siege of Vienna, for which sage advice he was rewarded with the lofts of his head. Now, what I want to show you guys is who they were talking about there. So, this is Kara Mustafa Pasha, which I saw his name in the book. They was like, this is who they were talking about, Kara Mustafa Pasha. Let me just show you. Because when you scroll up, I did so. I wanted to see who they were talking about. And it says here, besides those great precautions, Kara Mustafa was not wanting in those excellent qualities which make a complete general. So that's who they were calling a swarty, black complexion man. And his name was Kara because he was black. And that's what black man in Turkish, all right? So let's read about this guy a little bit. So again, this is the Wikipedia. It says Kara Mustafa Pasha, Ottoman nobleman from 1634 to 1683, right? Military figure and Grand Vizier. All of these, remember saying all of these people are like him. All these viziers and all the many of the Buddhas and all these, right? Who was a central character in the Ottoman Empire. The last attempt at expansion into both Central and Eastern Europe. All right, important guy in history, guys. Now you know this was a so-called black man, but they have a whitewashed image of him, even him. Let me show you. See, like, check it out. Does that look like a black swarty man? Does that look like a black swarty man that they would name Kara after? No, right? Whitewash, just like we know already, just like the Napoleon picture, they whitewash, right? Just like the Napoleon picture, they whitewash. It says Asha was of Turkish origin. However, he was brought up in the Koprulo family of Albanian origin. He was born in the village of Marins Manka near Metsifon, called Kara Mustafa Pasha, after him, the son of a Sipahi cavalryman. His father said to have served under Koprulo Mehmet Pasha, possibly as a way to increase his possibilities to start an administrative career. He was introduced into the Koprulo household, where he was educated by Koprulo Mehmet Pasha and married into the Koprulo family. Okay, so that's a little bit of him. This is the Black Swarty man, Dash the Hijack, Eastern Europe, Eastern European, swarty. All these people swarty, so-called black in ancient times, guys. So we continue in this book. It's called The History of the Reign of Queen Anne, digested into annals. Year the 7th, 1709, by Abel Boyer. This is from 1709. Little explanation here what we're about to read. It says, in this 1709 book documenting obituaries from Queen Anne's reign, the final paragraph on page 343 describes John Hamilton II, Lord Belhaven and Stanton, born 1656, a Scottish lord from the powerful Hamilton family. He held major political roles in Scotland, was outspoken in Parliament, and even opposed the Union debate in 1706. The book also notes his black complexion and gracefully manly presence, treating it like a normal, right? Like a normal thing. All right. People swarty, right? So let's get to the source. So starting from page 342 is where they describe what they're talking about. It says on the 21st of the same month died also the Lord Belhaven, right? Descended from Bruntwood, a third son of the great and noble family of Hamilton in Scotland. Okay, so this is, who they're talking about. We go to the next page. It says, soon after he was made of the Privy Council and Exchequer in Scotland, where he forwarded the restoration of the Presbyterian government and the establishment of the Scotch African Company, huh? You see what's going on here, guys? A swarty man did that, and he's from Scotland. He has nothing to do with Africa. And that was a black man. Listen, pay attention. They were doing it everywhere. In 1695, he was concerned in the farm of the Inland Excise in Scotland. In the Parliament of 1700, he zealously promoted the Act to prevent the growth of paupery, the Act for a habeas corpus. Okay, listen, that habeas corpus. All right, you got to be sovereign and other wholesome laws. Listen, in 1701, he traveled with his two sons. In the Parliament of 1704, he used his utmost endeavors to get the Protestant succession settled in Scotland upon limitations, and after the Parliament was made one of the Lords of the Treasury in Scotland. In 1706, when the Union came to be debated in the Parliament of that kingdom, he joined with those who strenuously opposed it, which being ascribed to a dissatisfaction upon the news of the invasion, he was sent for by the Privy Council of Scotland, confined first to his chamber, and then in Edinburgh Castle, from whence about 2 months after he was sent up to London, and on the 17th of June admitted to bail. 4 days after he died of an inflammation of his brain in the 52nd year of his age, being born the 5th of July, 1656, he was of a good stature, well set, of a healthy constitution, black, all right, black complexion. You guys see that? And graceful, manly presence. Had a quick conception with a ready and masculine expression, and was steady in his principles, both in politics and religion. Okay, black, so-called black complexion. They don't mean, guys, they don't mean white skin right here. They literally mean a so-called black man, Negro man, a black Scottish man. All right. Would he find the African what? What did he found? The Scotch African Company? Huh. All right, there you go. So before we continue, just more corroboration on John Hamilton. Shout out to Jason Hodge here over at the Patreon page, one of the supporters. Thank you for this info. This is beautiful because we're, work like a team, So, hey, we might have the Hodge file soon. It says, I can corroborate further details for you. In the Dictionary National Biography, page 197-98, John Hamilton's description is independently corroborated across two other primary sources, McKee and Boyer. And so he goes on to describe what it's saying. So I'm going to actually read the passage myself to you guys. So again, we're in the Dictionary of National Biography, volume 24. All right, this is from 1890. So again, here is the page 198. We're going to zoom into over here and then just scroll down to the part we want to read. Again, here, Belhaven, right? That's what they're referring to him as, Belhaven. So Belhaven, with other opponents of the Union, was imprisoned at Edinburgh, and in April 1708, brought in custody to London as suspected of favoring the attempted French invasion. He was examined by the English Privy Council and admitted to bail, dying a few days afterwards, 21st of June 1708, of inflammation of the brain caused of aggravated. It had been surmised by wounded pride. Man. It says here, a logistic elegy on him, doggerel verse, was printed as a broadside at Edinburgh soon after his death. Lockhart at Carnwath accuses him of want of fixity of principle and charges him with making long premeditated harangues, but admits that he was a well-accomplished gentleman in most kinds of learning, well acquainted with the Constitution of Scotland, and a skillful parliamentary strategist. All right, so now McKee's memoirs. Remember, we got McKee's descriptions of what we've actually probably read John Hamilton's in the McKee book we got in the video, and I didn't even realize we're talking about the same person. I could have added it to this, but it says McKee's memoirs on page 236 caricatures him as a rough, fat black, so-called black, noisy man, more like a butcher than a lord. In the obituary notice of him in Boyer, he is described as a good stature, well set, of a healthy constitution, black complexion, okay? Black complexion and graceful, manly presence, as having a quick conception with a ready masculine impression, as being steady in his principles, both in politics and religion, all right? So here is what he was saying, confirming, all right, the other source, and adding one of McKee's, also call him fat, black, noisy man. Wow. Real history, Black Europeans. All right, so right now we're going to read from the history of Scotland. I'm going to talk about somebody else from a little more back in time. We're talking about medieval times, right? It says the history of Scotland from 21 of February 1436 to March 1565, in which are contained accounts of many remarkable passages altogether differing from our other historians, and many facts are related, either concealed by some or omitted by others, by Robert Lindsay and Robert Freeburn, 1728, okay, 1728. Again, this is the cover right here, the history of Scotland, so you guys can see the original. Actually, 1604, you see that? It's actually from 1604. All right, good thing we looked at the cover. 1604. That's how old it is. And I'm just going to read here. Okay, this is on page 25 of this book. It says here, in old times, Robert the Bruce. Remember who that is? That's the guy from the movie Braveheart, with Mel Gibson, Robert the Bruce, the leader of the Pictish groups here, rebels, well, not rebels, they were fighting for their land, they were getting invaded. So Robert the Bruce gave the earldom of Murray to his own sister's son, Sir Thomas Randall, so his nephew. So we're going to talk about his nephew, Sir Thomas Randall of Stratdown, knight. All right, a knight, chief of the clan Allen. All right, the chief of the clan Allen, all right, whose works can testify his life in the 14th book, rehearted before in this same history, and salient of him, and heirs of his body, that it should return again to the crown. This Thomas had two sons, but I cannot tell who was their mother. The eldest called Thomas, who succeeded to his father's place, the other called John, who without any succession of their bodies were both slain at the battle of Daplin in Stratburn, fighting manfully to the death for the defense of this realm invaded by the Englishmen, our old enemies. He also had two daughters, of whom the eldest was called Black Anne's. All right, his daughters, right? So Black Anne's, all right, by reason she was black skinned, they called her Black Anne's because she was black skinned. You guys see this, right? Let me zoom in in case you don't. Black skinned. This Anne was a woman of greater spirit than it became a woman to be, who was married upon Patrick, Earl of March. The second was called Gales, and was married upon Jobu, brother to the Earl of March, and bore to him George, who succeeded. So check it out. So if she's Black Anne because of her black skin, right? Wouldn't her parents and her grandfather, Robert the Bruce, also be a swarty? We already know this already from the book we read, Ancient and Modern Britons, and all the sources we've gone over with the Pictish people, how they described as swarty, so-called Moors or Negroes or black. That's how we got them in history. So this is just more corroboration on that. This is a historical person. All right, Anns. They call her here Black Anns, huh? Now check it out. AI says, based on the provided search results, the figures mentioned are interconnected through Scottish history, particularly during the Wars of Independence. What I searched for was Black Anns, Robert the Bruce, Thomas Randall, right? So it says Black Agnes, or Agnes Randolph. That's her real name. It says Countess of Dunbar. All right? Remember, she's Black Anns because of her black skin. Known for the olive skin, she was the daughter of Thomas Randolph. Olives are black, right? First Earl of Moray. So what does that mean about her dad, right? She is famous for her heroic defense of Dunbar Castle in 1338 against English forces, okay? And her dad, again, was a nephew, combination in arms, and key supporter of Robert the Bruce, all right? The king of the pigs, chief of the pigs. That's what we're talking about. Swarty people, black Europeans throughout history. We're back in the Kirkland files, and it says here, the Athenian Oracle, being an entire collection of all the valuable questions and answers in the old Athenian Mercuries, intermixed for many cases in divinity, history, philosophy, mathematics, love, poetry, never before published, to which is added an alphabetical table for the speedy finding of any questions. All right, so this is volume 3. This is from a member of the Athenian Society. All right, and last, oh, there's many volumes. This is from 1704, right? 1704. Okay, so we're in page 500 of this book. Okay, just take our time with it real quick. So they're gonna talk about how they ran into somebody. They're gonna be like, "Whoa, who's that black man?" So it says here, I'm acquainted with a gentleman and a lady, persons of very good note and credits, beginning to the Conry, of whom I had this following relation in the reign of the late King James, presently upon the dearbought King Charles II, as they were walking in the long gallery in the event evening, about candlelight, at the farther end of the gallery there seemed as if it were an arched, and we go up here and it says door, and in the middle of a tall black man, a tall black man, you guys see that, standing bolt upright, and through the door there appeared a light as of many flamboys burning, whereupon they stood still, right? Thinking in the it to be King James. So they thought it was King James, right? So what does that say about King James? He was also a black man. They thought it was King James or some great courtier in mourning, but not seeing him stir, they began to be amazed and had not the power to speak to one counselor, whomever the gentlewoman took such a full view of him as to see that he had plain arbite muslin ruffles and cravat quailed very neat. They both saw his face and were satisfied that that was King Charles II. All right, the black man, that was King Charles II. So look, guys, we got a whole video on King Charles II. Way more sources than this, proving he was a black man. Black Boy Inn named after him. The Black Boy Taverns, all that. And we have other videos as well. We added more sources, and now here's another one. There's so many sources of King Charles II being a so-called black man, swarty man, person of color, melanated, a Negro. Okay, here you go. A book from 1704, again, saying they saw in the middle of a door a tall black man standing bolt upright. That was Charles II. And this is for the dismount right here. It says here we're at the English Parnassus, or a help to English poesy, containing a collection of all the rhythmic monosyllables, the choicest epithets and phrases, with some general forms upon all occasions, subjects and themes alphabetically digested by Joshua Poole, M.A. Clare Hall, Cambridge, together with a short institution to English poesy by way of preface. This is from London in 1677. All right, guys? This is the source we're going to read right now from 1677. We're going to get some drop for the dismount. What does swarty mean again? Okay. So first we go to the word Negro in this book. And it says here, scorched. Ha. Quick. Oh, somebody who's quick, huh? Wealthy. Swift paced. Huh, swift paced. And swarty. Okay, Negro equals swarty. For all you guys who are still doubting that the word swarty was applied to Negroes or black folks, this is from 1677. Okay, primary source telling you Negro and swarty are the same. Tawny is Negro as well. Sooty, and what's this one? Colid, sultry, misbelieving. It means all this stuff. Look, it's sallow, curled, barbarous, roasted, sun-baked, broiled, fried, dusky, thick-lipped. Look, ox-eyed, flat-nosed, swift-foot, nimble-footed, dividing, pearly, pearl-searching, okay? But again, they're telling you it means swarty, all right? It also says here, Ethiopian versus Moor. I thought this was interesting. Shout out to Kirkland. It says sunburnt, swarty. Okay, swarty. A Moor and an Ethiopian is swarty. Okay, swarty. Sooty, sultry, scalded, broiled, scorched, curled, tan, black. All right, black, barbarous, back, wild, brutish, Moorish, roasted, fried, naked, coldly, bloody, flat-nosed, tawny, misbelieving Negro. Thick-lipped, Wayne Scott-faced. Wayne Scott-faced. And another one here says more, verb, the feminine, that's what they're saying. So more says swarty, right? Swarty, tawny again. Sooty, Negro, misbelieving. Misbelieving, huh? Sultry, sunburnt, sallow, scalded, curl, tan. It's kind of like the same ones of all the other ones, but just so we're clear, right? What they're saying here, right? Swarty is Negro, all right? Negro is swarty. It's the same thing, all right? Shout out to CW and Kirkland for the help, and a little addition here with from Jason Hodge, the Hodge Files. Hey, man, anybody would like to contribute like this, make sure it's primary sources like this. Make sure you provide all the details, what page, because sometimes it's hard finding, the drop when there's like 30 or 100 volumes, and you're just giving me the name of the book, and I'm like, oh, I got to go searching through it. But if you want to help out, you want to be part of Drop Nation, literally already, we all Drop Nation. Shout out to Drop, part of the Cootie Mill research team. All right. Get these X Files out. Hey, it's welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hey, we got a lot more, guys. Trust me. I'm going to try to do another one tomorrow. This took me 2 days to do just because I'm lying down in my bed. Seriously. I did all this on my phone. The cover, everything. Uploaded everything. I did everything on my phone. If I can do this on my phone, you guys can too. I edited on my phone with KindMaster, all that. Exported it, uploaded it to YouTube, created the cover on Canvas, and use free pick for AI images. It's free online. I did all that, guys, from my bed right here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, I mean, how many more of these videos do we have to do, right? I mean, we already got so many. Again, make sure to check out all the videos, all the history, all the research we've done on Black Europeans. I got a whole playlist. This is it right here. Black Europeans history. Okay, many, many videos. We got 181 videos alone on this one, right? Just alone. We got so many, guys. Black Europeans history is real. All right, it's real. And we're uncovering it. How many more videos do we have to do for people to finally get it? For people to finally see we're not just blackwashing, we're correcting history. All right, because history has been whitewashed. History has been whitewashed. Let us correct history. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch. If you like what I do, check out all the rest of the videos, guys. Learn, catch up. You're going to enjoy it so much. Check out my Black Irish parts 1 and 2. It's so good. Man, I got so many, guys, here, right here. I got so many day and night videos. Look at that. Scottish Highlanders, Cabbage Patch Babies, Orphan Trains. Lincoln videos. The European slave videos, Israel's and the Nation of Europe series right here. All my Sephardic videos. Who the Saxons are. Come on now. Very diverse. 1745 and 1747 shit manifest of the Jacobite prisoners. Again, the truth about the Black European slave owners of Louisiana. Come on now. The true identity of Christopher Columbus. That's a major drop. And here goes the Napoleon one. Here goes the swarty Napoleon Bonaparte. Primary sources. We got the drop on his brother today. You see how they whitewashed his image? They try to hide his image. They left the face out because they didn't want to show you a so-called black man being a Napoleon or the brother of Napoleon. All right, so make sure to check out the playlist, Black Europeans History. Again, it goes on and on. I got so many videos on this, guys. All my Ancient and Modern Britain series right here, kind of too as well. You guys see? It's a lot of good drop. King Charles II, 100% historical proof he was a black man. Primary sources, physical appearance. Swarty, King Ludoco Forza. We got the coat of arms videos as well. We got so many. The Bourbons, the Habsburgs, and more. Look at that. Look at that. We got so many. The real Pirates of the Caribbean, right? All right. I'm going to leave it right there, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support what I do. All right. Links are in the description of my videos. If you don't see it on this one, just check the one before it or any other video. Should be there. I appreciate you guys for the support, all my channel members and Patreon supporters, my moderators, anybody that was here in the live chat. All right, I pre-recorded this, but I'm here with you in the live, watching it with you, as I heal. Thank you for tuning in, making the time to be here. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until the next time, I'm going to probably have more of these, okay? Coming. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.